A firestorm on Capitol Hill today as Republicans invoked the so-called nuclear option, which means Neil Gorsuch only needs a simple majority, just 51 votes to be confirmed. So that means tomorrow night, perhaps during our show, history will be made, even as Democrats warn of extreme consequences. Senate Minority Leader, Democrat Chuck Schumer, in fact, blasted the nuclear option on the Senate floor just a few hours ago.
There's a reason it was dubbed the nuclear option. It's the most extreme measure with the most extreme consequences.
Joining me now to discuss John Burnett, David Fetter, and Barbara Smith. David, I want to start with you because you formerly clerked for Judge Gorsuch. And, the last 24, 48 hours with charges of plagiarism and things like that, it must have been pretty tough for you to watch this man and his legacy being dragged through the mud in a desperate attempt by Democrats to stop his nomination.
Charles, first, thanks for having me today. And it has been tough, but I also know that these things are completely baseless. I know that Judge Gorsuch has the highest integrity. I worked with him for a year behind the scenes, and he only had the highest ethical standards.
Barbara, will this change once Gorsuch is on the Supreme Court? Will this have any sort of impact with respect to his legitimacy? Will the Democrats call that out from time to time when there are decisions made that they don't agree with?
Well, I certainly hope not. I mean, people like Justice Thomas and Justice Alito also had very contentious nomination and confirmation processes. And now that they're on the court, I think it's widely considered that they are preeminent jurists. Everyone respects even when they disagree with their opinions. And so I certainly don't think this will impact the legitimacy of future Justice Gorsuch or the composition of the nine members on the Supreme Court going forward.
Barbara, are you okay with the idea of the so-called nuclear option, a simple majority on something as critical as a Supreme Court seat?
I think if I had any reservations about them, I would have voiced them in 2013 when Senator Reid decided to bust the nuclear option out in order to load the D.C. Circuit with President Obama's judicial nominees. As someone who cares deeply about the federal courts, I think, federal appellate judges at that level are also just as important as Supreme Court justices. So I sort of feel like this is a bridge that the Senate already crossed. And to ask Republicans to play by different rules than Democrats have been playing by would just be unfair.
All right, guys, the nuclear option. John, you understand politics. Why do they call it the nuclear option? I mean, I don't know. From what I understand, it's not in the Constitution, and there was a time when a simple majority were the rules of the game. So why is it considered now? By the way, both sides of the aisle, many people are saying this was a dire move, and why would there be negative consequences because of this?
Because the Democrats want to filibuster and stop Gorsuch nomination. I should say confirmation.
But what's wrong with from now on until, of course, you can get a 67 vote in the Senate to go back to the old rules? Why does this open up why is it considered such a dangerous road to go down when it seems like just sort of common sense for most people?
Well, it's already a tense environment in D.C., and possibly this might make it even more tense after the confirmation tomorrow. But the thing is that the Republicans did not want to allow the Democrats to filibuster and stop this confirmation. So what they did was invoke the nuclear option, right? So that way you can shut down debate, vote on it, and it passed 52 to 48 along party lines. Then they voted, I believe, 55 to 45 to make sure that we can move on to a confirmation vote that will take place tomorrow afternoon.
David, I want to go back to you and just get a greater sense because we're going to be living with Justice Gorsuch for a very long time. What can America expect?
Well, I think they're going to get impeccably qualified jurist, one who follows the law wherever it leads him. He's going to decide cases without fear or favor of anyone, and he's going to, I think, make our country proud.
Would he consider that President Trump put him on the bench when cases come up that involve this administration? Will that influence him at all?
No, the judge will rule only on the law and the facts. He will not rule in favor of anyone based on the identity of the parties before him, and he won't rule against anyone based on the identities of the parties before him.